Welcome to Creatives in Quarantine. I'm your host, Tiwana Floyd. This week, I talked to one of my dearest friends, Emmy-nominated actress Crystal Lee Brown, who shares intimate details of a pivotal role that transformed her career as an actor, Showtime's The Good Lord Bird with Ethan Hawke, now airing. You will be moved by her character, Sibonia. So let's just dive in, because we have a lot to talk about. Here's Crystal. Welcome to Creative in Quarantine. Crystal Lee Brown. Philly in the house.
No, in East Philadelphia, born and raised on the playground. That's where I spent most of my days chilling out. Max, are we not going to go into the whole thing?
I don't know. Dance.
I was on a Zoom call the other day, and they had like a DJ. You know, you can have like a dance party in Zoom.
Yeah.
DJ. Anyway, he played Summertime by Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff, and I sung the whole song. And they had me on the camera, and I said, listen, that was the summer anthem growing up.
That was a good song.
Mm-hmm.
That was a smart song, because Summertime for us is always an anthem. So that was a smart one for them to create, and it was smooth.
Yes.
Jazzy Jeff. So Crystal Lee Brown, oh my gosh, we met in New York City, in Harlem, doing a play. I guess we would call that off Broadway, since it was in Harlem.
Off. I always say off, way off and around the corner
Broadway. That's right. And we met in a play, and the play was decent. The playwright was decent, but she was interesting. I don't even remember her name to say it, and we don't even need to bring her up. But yeah, so we found out that we were both moved. Well, first of all, we hit it off like immediately. And I think you were living in New Jersey at the time. You had moved.
Yes, I was living in Fort Lee, New Jersey, or Cliffside Park, New Jersey at the time. Yep, and was coming over the bridge on the little bus over to getting lost on the New York train station. So I was like, oh my goodness, how do these New Yorkers do it? The A train to the D train. Whew, but I got there.
That's right. I was in Jersey too. I was in Jersey City at that time. That was last year in New York, in Jersey City. But you know, I'm a New Yorker, so I know the New York Transit Authority. But yeah, so we found out that we were moving to LA, and then we just stayed in touch, and that was 16 years ago.
Yes, October 5th will be 16 years for me.
How is it 16?
No, 15, October 5th, 2005. Yes.
Yeah, because we moved within a month of each other. I came in September 12th, and then you came the following month. And then there was a girl that moved here a month before me. So I had like a little crew of people who moved here at the same time as I did. But while I know you as an actor, you know, we do a bunch of stuff.
Yes.
We do a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, so would you say that people mostly know you for acting, or is it kind of like depending on where you were in your life that people know you for different things?
Are you talking about now, recently, or overall?
Like overall.
I think now as an actor, because has been my primary career. Yeah. For the last 15 years being here in LA. I mean, I had tons of hustle jobs now. I think we all had. And I would hate for someone to know me through my hustle jobs. But yeah, primarily as an actor. And as a audition coach and self-tape specialist.
That's right. And so how did your journey, I know your journey, but actually I learned something new about your journey in a different talk that you had. But yeah, tell us how you got to where you are right now as an actor.
Whew, okay. Well, I went to Temple University and had a minor in theater. So that's where I got my first taste of any type of acting curriculum.
But what was your major?
My major was sports journalism. So my major was sports journalism, public relations, and advertising. Yeah. And my minor was theater. So with that degree, I worked in the sports field. So I worked for the NBA and the Arena Football League when I moved to New Jersey, worked for the NBA for about 5 years prior to me moving to New Jersey. So my theater, the reason why I was in theater in New York is because I still wanted to hone my craft. Because I did a 2-year program at my college at Temple. So I said, well, let me just do both, right? I have a degree in journalism and sports broadcasting. That's what I really wanted to do. That was my passion. my passion was sports. I was an athlete. I ran track. I played basketball. So that athleticism and sports was just in my DNA. I would stay up to 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning watching ESPN reruns, like
Wow.
Stuart Scott, all of those guys. Like I grew up on them.
Right.
So with the theater background, I just wanted, and especially I was in New York City. I was like, how can I be in New York and not take on theater here? So with that, you know what they say, once you get bitten by the acting bug and you're exercising that muscle, that kind of took precedence over my sports journalism career. And I said, well, let me move to LA and really do this. Well, I was encouraged to move to LA.
Who were you encouraged by?
My cousin Crystal Streets. I was living with her at the time. And, you know, she knew what I really wanted. And she said, you need to go. Like, you really need to go to LA. My family knew that I was in the arts as well. But New York was like, oh, well, you're in the arts. You're in New York. And I don't think they realized that LA is where I needed to be. So when I decided to move to LA, I bought a one-way ticket for $105. I still have the ticket stub in my lockbox. And I let the screen stay on the computer all day because I was petrified. You know, back then, $105 was a lot of money. I said, if I spend this and I don't go, I'm going to be out of $105.
Right.
So I let it sit there all day. And when I came back, the ticket was still there. It was still available. I bought the ticket. And then my cousin gifted me with paying for my car to get shipped from Philadelphia to LA. And I told my mom, I said, I'm moving to LA next Saturday. Like, I leave Saturday. And she was like, okay. She literally did not believe me until the people to come get your car was putting my car on the flatbed, and she thought I was getting repoed. She ran in the room like, your car is getting repossessed. You didn't pay your car, no. And I was like, Mom, I told you I'm moving to LA. They're coming to ship my car. She was like, wait, you're serious? So that's how my mom really found out that it was happening.
So was that a moment, like when the reality that you were serious about that set in for her?
For sure, because she had no idea that she thought I was joking. She did not believe, even though I told her and I was packing up and all of those things. I don't know if she really saw the packing part of it. You know, she just was like, okay. And then I think once I said, this is happening. Yeah. And I need you to drive me to the airport. And that was the next thing I said. I said, so I need a ride to the airport. And I remember already buying my mom a card. And when she dropped me off at the airport, I put the card on the dashboard, and you know, it was a sentimental card on everything that she instilled in me and taught me throughout my life. I'm taking with me and not to worry, basically. And she dropped me off at the airport, and I've been here ever since.
Have you talked to her about that day fast forward? Like how did she feel?
But I'm going to call her after this and tell her that I told that story.
Yeah, I'd be curious, because that's like a Hallmark commercial right there. That's and almost like an empty nester, although you still had your brother there, I believe, right?
Yes, my brother still was.
You're the only girl, you're the baby girl.
Yeah. I never asked her, like, how did you feel after that? And I know for sure that she, as all parents, are like, okay, let her just go try it out. And then, you know, she's going to be back, no problem. And I mean, literally, it'll be 15 years and 2 months. And I have not gone back or even considered moving back. You know, I've never been in that space where a lot of artists I know feel and are in and experience in terms of making the decision to stay or to go back home. And I've never felt that way. I never felt that way. I was like, no, I'm here, and this is what I want. This is what I'm doing. Even when times got tough, and you know, it was like, whew, what you gonna do, girl? Well, I'm gonna figure it out right here. Right. Because running back home is not gonna solve anything. It's not gonna help me. So yeah, I never had that. Thank God.
Yeah, I have a friend who, he's from Chicago. He's been out here. He was out here already like 10 years when I moved out here. But he says that when he goes back to Chicago, he can't see his dreams from there. And I was like, whoa. And that's why he can't go back and he can't stay, even though they're starting to have like a semblance of a renaissance of, you know, shows and things, but he cannot see his dreams from there. So Hollywood.
I feel the same way when I go back home. I feel, especially going back where you grew up and you seeing people that you grew up with, and everyone is so happy for you.
Yeah.
Right. Everyone is so happy for you. I had a friend just today DM me, and he said, "Did I see you in a commercial just now?" And I was like, "Yeah, me and my daughter." He's like, "Oh my God, I'm always so happy when I see you." And that feels good, but I also feel like when I go back home, I know that so many of my friends and peers have dreams or had dreams, and for whatever circumstances, couldn't really go after them, or a fear set in for them, and they didn't want to push past through that, or they didn't have the courage to push past that. And that's no judgment, and that's no shame or anything, because I've been in that space. I think we've all been in that space when fear has stopped us. But to see it manifest, right, and to see the hopes and dreams of people that have a greater purpose or wanted to try something, not being able to do that hurts.
Yeah, I agree with you. When I think the final week or weeks as I was gearing up to move here, and I only moved here with boxes. I didn't move here with furniture. And so I was giving away furniture, and this woman that I work with, a friend of mine, I was giving her some stuff for her son's room. And so she came over, and then when she saw how empty my apartment was, she was like, "You're really courageous." And it stopped me. I was like packing stuff up, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she's like, you're leaving all your family and you're going way across the world. That's really courageous. I didn't see it that way. I just saw it as like, oh, I'm going to go try this thing. And, did you feel courageous as you were doing it?
I did. Yeah. I felt, that's interesting. That's an interesting question, because I don't know if I ever tapped into how I felt about my decision. I knew internally that it was the right move for me. I knew that. But I didn't weigh where my courage lies in that. I was very aware that I was leaving my loved ones to chase a dream like acting in LA. I mean, this big pool that we are in, and knowing the odds are already stacked up for artists. But I just pushed through, which is surprising to me, because I allowed fear. I wasn't as courageous earlier in my career as a child, because I let fear stop me. I had an opportunity to be a part of the Freedom Theater in Philadelphia, which is a world-renowned theater.
Yeah.
And I signed up to audition. My mom signed me up. She paid $20, and they gave me like a little piece of paper with some lines on it. They wanted me to sing, act, and dance. And I was no older than my daughter's age, 8, 9 years old. And I froze. The day of the audition, I told my mom I didn't want to go. She's like, "What are you talking about? I just paid $20. And this is like 1985.
$20. Right. That's like $100.
I paid $20. And I was, I don't want to do it. I'm afraid. I don't know how to sing. I don't know how to dance. I don't know. I don't want to do it. And she said, "Fine. Don't ask me to sign you up anymore." So who knows what my career could have been, because that is a foundational theater, so it happened the way it happened. Excellent. But I vaguely remember that stopping me. So then fast forwarding to moving, I had to push past whatever I was feeling to do it, because I didn't want to let myself down again.
Yeah. I when you talked about the times of, because we moved here close together, so we went through a lot of the same challenges at the same time, and we were fortunate that we had each other in those moments. But those times where earning a living and no career is happening, and trying to figure out the lay of the land, and trying to figure out how you even get started was quite daunting. But how do you think you continue to persevere, to stay here, to keep grinding, to keep going?
I just thank God. I thank God and spirit and destiny. When you know your purpose, and I mean, listen, I've had jobs where slow down. I took jobs that I did not want to take, right? Because I had to support myself. I had to support my family. But I knew that wasn't the end all for me. Like, I knew that I wasn't going to be bartending forever. I knew that I wasn't going to be, you know, at all these other side jobs forever. It was just a means to push me forward. And I kind of not really enjoyed, but I had to get comfortable with the feeling of being uncomfortable to know that I had to work harder in my career because this is not my story.
Right.
I mean, I would go to work every day crying. Like, I know I'm not supposed to be here.
I hate this job.
I don't even know how I got here. But this uncomfortability, I know I don't like how it feels on me. So I'm going to push forward in my career so that this is just temporary. So being uncomfortable
that's
really
the main
put
thing.
some fire under me.
That I think that no one really addresses. I mean, some people do, but not in a mainstream way, is that being okay with being uncomfortable, because that really is the artist's way. We have no idea what's happening the next day, but at the same time, our life can change on a dime for the good or for the bad in just one day. And because we know what our vision is, and we know in our heart that this is what we want to do, we just keep on persevering and figuring it out along the way. But I know for myself, the more that I started to learn that everything works out anyway, then the fear starts to lessen. It still comes up, but not as much. It's just like, oh, I've been here before.
Yes. Yeah.
And so when you talk about, because you mentioned bartending, because you are a dope bartender. And so how did you become a bartender? That's a whole other creative outlet.
I mean, listen, I worked in restaurants. When I moved to New York, I worked at the Cheesecake Factory, right? Actually, before I moved to New York, I worked at the Cheesecake Factory in Philly in college. And then I transferred to the one in Jersey. And then, you know, you kind of go through all the different levels there. So I started bartending there, and then that turned into me opening up my own bartending service company when I moved here, called Star Tenders, and I would do high events, which, you know, I still have clients that now I can push off to other people who want to do those jobs. But yeah, it was fast, it was easy. And I was addicted to like a Mai Tai. That was like my drink coming up. I was like, I'm going to learn how to perfect my own Mai Tai. So I just started. That's how I started.
And that's the thing with bartending. It's like, it doesn't matter where you go. There is a job in bartending. So that skill alone will sustain you forever. Just as much as being a barber or being a hairstylist, but that's something that you will always be able to work in some form of way. But I love Star Tenders, and I thought that it was really, again, courageous of you to create this thing and reach out to people and let them know that you exist and you provide this service. And I remember it being, you know, really well, like profitable for you and your partner at the time. And then even now, although that's not the focus, you still have built that community of people who still call on you for these high-end opportunities.
And I'm able to hire people.
Exactly. So that's. And so now, and we talked about the commercial. I don't know when it's going to be airing, but there's a Walmart commercial airing right now, Back to School with you and your daughter, Sydney. And that happened during quarantine. We Zoomed audition right here in this spot. We auditioned and then got a callback. We went in for the callback. It was super COVID protocol. You couldn't walk in until your time. We were the only people in there. So yeah, I mean, that was the first booking of quarantine. So as exciting as it was a new experience because as artists, we'd never been in this space before. No.
So it was interesting navigating like, okay, how is this going to work? How are we going to do this?
Yeah.
But everyone was ready. It was everyone's first time back at work.
Right.
That was on a particular job. And, you know, we did it.
Yeah.
We did it. And I did it with a 9-year-old.
But also, because, you know, I was saying to somebody the other day, who's also pretty much like a veteran. She's a veteran voiceover actor, performer. And we were talking about, you know, although there's a lot of work that goes into this now, because we've been doing this for so long, it's just like, okay, get it done. So and we can calculate, okay, what's the best way to make this work so it's seamless for me, and then the performance comes off great. And sometimes it's like all this behind the scenes work can make the work suffer. So then taking that moment to collect yourself before you do the thing. Did you have any of that come up for you?
I did, because again, we're at home. I'm working with my daughter, who I've worked with plenty of times, and she's a natural. Yeah. She reads my lines. She focus us on the camera like she has it. But again, we had to improvise, right? We had to do a science project and all this stuff. So I got myself ready, got her ready. And then once we got on, I said, wow, did I go over it with her? I don't even think I went over it with her. But it was perfect because, you know, kids are just so natural and they're going to just do what they do. And yeah, you know, you're like, as the actor who knows what to do, you want to make sure that, okay, you know what to do. Yeah. But it was fun. I mean, we were in here, we were making a science project. I said, we're going to use baking soda and vinegar, which they didn't tell us to do. Mm-hmm. And we did it, and we made the volcano erupt. Then we went in the room, we did it again. And it was just natural. It was fun. We were finishing each other's sentences. And I remember in the audition, I said, you are my child. Yeah. So it was just a real moment. It was fun. And we had a good time.
Ah, that's great. And so now, let's segue into what I had two thoughts, but I'll go with this one first. So what have you been doing for quarantine to stay creative, if you have?
Okay, so the beginning of quarantine, I was, and I'm still in, a reset my instrument class. So I was doing that, a 33-day reset your instrument, just to, you know, live in your body more and allow yourself to play off your instincts and your impulses. So that was very instrumental and helpful the first month and a half of quarantine, because it allowed me to stay in the work. And, you know, all these casting director workshops, and everyone was streamlining their classes and their curriculum online. And at one point it got overwhelming because you want to do everything. And I said, nope, I'm not going to do everything. Right. So I picked and choose what I wanted to do. I did a few 4-week classes here and there, which were very great. And I'm still in class. Mm-hmm. Like, I log on, I'm in a class, I have back Zooms to watch of classes that I signed up for. So just making sure that my instrument is strong and that I'm staying in the work. I'm still coaching online now via Zoom, taught a couple of classes, taught a few self-tape classes for clients.
Well, now you're glazing over that. So let's go into that business, because that started iTapeLA.
Yes.
Which
you gave me the name for that. Thank you.
I did? Oh, shoot.
Yes, you did.
It's so funny. I was like, that's a dope name.
I have to give you credit. I called you. I said, I need a name. I don't know. I'm going to get an invoice in the mail.
No, I don't even remember. I'm telling you, Spirit be speaking to me. But I was saying the other day, that's a dope name. That's a dope name. But yes, but how did that start?
That started being an actor and getting self-tape auditions. And had to figure it out.
And self-tape auditions from the Southeast.
From the Southeast, yes. Yeah. So I have an agent in the Southeast.
And what is that? Was that Georgia, North Carolina,
South Carolina, Florida, even?
Yeah. New Orleans, maybe?
New Orleans, okay. Yes. So my agent is based in Atlanta. And, you know, I started getting auditions. I had just signed with them.
Yeah.
And they were sending auditions. And this is before, you know, the whole actors in LA, agents in Atlanta, it doesn't really work well. So they would send me auditions that I had to self-tape for. And self-tape was fairly new.
Yeah.
I mean, we weren't really doing them.
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be in here for hours on a self-tape because I did not know what I was doing. You know, I'm like, oh, let me get the camera, let me do this, inviting friends over to help me. And then I started to get a handle on it, and friends would come and ask me to tape them. So now I'm spending hours with friends, taping them. And I was doing it so much. And a friend said, I think you should turn this into a business because you're taping everyone. People were booking. And I just was like, oh, congratulations, you booked. You know, I was coaching them as well. So I said, you know, you're right. Let me figure that out. And I did. And it's been iTapeLA now for, I think I've been taping about 6 or 7 years now.
Yeah, I'm like, it's been a good while. Yeah. And that's the thing too, because that was the onset of the Southeast reaching out for LA actors. And they probably had been actually for a while, but it was becoming more prominent. And like you said, we didn't know how to do that. And when you would go to a facility, it would be $15, $30. And then if you're doing that 4 or 5 times a week, that added up really quickly.
Yes, it got very expensive. I think I've only went to 2 services out here actually in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And I didn't like my experience with neither one of them. I felt rushed. The reader wasn't an actor. It just wasn't what I needed. So when I started my business, I said, I want this to be a place where actors feel comfortable. Right. So I'm an actor. I get it. I'm not sitting here rushing you at all. Take your time. Let's work through this. Let's work together. And just a place to not be fearful. Come in here and just have fun. Let's just do the work. Instead of knowing there's another actor right outside the door who appointment you're running into and all of that. And then, you know, it starts to get in your head, and then it affects the work.
It does.
It affects the work. So I'm grateful that I'm able to provide a space for actors to come and it's in my home. So, you know, make you feel comfortable to come and do the work.
Yeah, and as someone who has partook in your services, I really appreciate, the fact that I'm not being rushed, but also the attention to detail of you finding the nuances in the script. And it's just like, we read scripts all the time. And it's like, oh, shoot, I didn't even see that. So having that outside eye and somebody who's an actor who can really understand and then convey it in a way that we can comprehend and then make that adjustment and then, you know, giving us different eye lines and all the stuff that you offer. And then now you have, like, you've branched out. So now you have a partnership. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm located in North Hollywood and Shelly is located in Inglewood. And that came about because, you know, I'm an actor, I'm a mom, I'm a wife. It got to the point, and it still is, where you can't accommodate everyone, right? It's just, you want to help everyone, you want to schedule everyone, but I'm only one person. So, and I have clients that travel a good way to come to tape, especially a lot of kid clients whose parents are in the position of momagers and they live, you know, maybe an hour away, Valencia and all these other places where they don't have that service out there. So they're coming in from a distance to get tape. And I'm glad that I'm able to provide that in different areas of the city because it alleviates the stress, right? We know LA traffic, having to come all the way from the west side to the valley and all of that. So it's been great. It's been great having 2 locations, being able to spread the creativity across LA where everyone can be accommodated. Right. So that's been great.
No, it's a really great service. It was smart. It was timely, and and you help a lot of people's careers. You know.
Yes. A lot of my friends have booked. A lot of clients have booked. I've booked my last 10 jobs off of a self-tape.
That's right. Yeah. So, the part that I don't think people understand is that you can actually book straight from a self-tape.
Straight from tape. Yeah. Straight from tape. So that's why your tape you have to hit it out the park. You have to hit it out of the park. And, you know, it's almost unfair for actors because we were thrown into the self-taping world. And it's nothing that you were taught when you were going to acting class. I mean, you were taught screen work, I'm sure, but producing a self-tape that will get you booked, get you seen, to get your tape passed up to the next line, right? Because a lot of things, another thing that actors don't understand is it's not just the casting director that's watching your tape.
Yeah.
If your tape is good, it is going up the chain of command, producers, the director, the studio. The network. At the end of the day, 25, 30 people install your tape. Yeah. And now the studio and the network has to sign off.
Yeah.
I tell so many actors that and they're blown away like, wait, what?
Oh, yeah. And that's even if your tape is good enough to get past the casting director. So you have to start there first. So yeah, so it makes sense to make sure you're working with a service that really provides something of quality and making sure your acting is tight and not just sending you out the door to, well, you'll figure it out. Yeah.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
So during the quarantine, have you, because you do it in your house, and what's great about the service that you offer when you do it is that there are not other people waiting for the most part. Sometimes there might be a little overlap, but for the most part, it's that person's time and they're there and you don't have to be so worried or self-conscious about somebody else. But now that we're in quarantine, are you still able to do so? And if so, how are you managing that?
Yes, so I'm still coaching via Zoom, just like this, coaching on Zoom. I actually and I'm also self-taping over Zoom. So
that's great.
2 clients after I get off the phone with you coaching. And then yesterday I coached and self-taped via Zoom. So as long as the actor have their own setup at home, which every actor should have now that we've been 6 months in quarantine, as long as you have your self-tape set up at home and you have me on a device, another device, your laptop or your phone. Now, when you put me on the eye line for your reader, so I'm your reader, and all you're doing is hit and record, and now we're working. So now I can make adjustments, give you adjustments, because I'm seeing what you're doing in the tape. So I also serve as your reader, but also still coach you through it. And some actors still have, aren't that tech savvy, so editing may get a little funky. So as long as they send me their file, then I'll edit it and email it to them.
Oh, I love that. That's a new business model too. And then people don't have to travel so far if they're willing to travel. Yeah.
And who knows how long we're going to be in this space. But the crazy thing is so many people still call me like, are you open yet? Can I come in? Can I come in? I'm like, the world isn't open yet. My house is not open. But this is what I can provide for you. And they love it. They're like, oh, great. No problem.
Yeah.
And once we work out the little kink in the beginning, because it's new for them as well, it turns out to be just as if they came in here.
Yeah, that's great. And so with quarantine right now, like how have your emotions been? I know my emotions have been erratic. For the most part, it's trying to stay at the optimistic level, but it can go down and,
Yes, for sure. I've been on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Not a crazy one that flips you upside down and take you backwards, but I mean,
one just ups and downs.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, and then here we go. Oh, and here we go. Yeah. That first month and a half, because we didn't know what was what, you kind of like, okay, we're home. We're just gonna catch up on some TV, and all that. But as the days, I think I just Googled the other day, I think we're like 168 days. 168 days roughly. And I got thrown into it. Work stopped for me immediately. I was on a show. I also do on-set dialogue coaching. So I was working on a show shut down. My daughter's school shut down. So now we are in the middle of homeschooling and trying to figure out what's going on in the world. So that was a huge adjustment, because not only does it take on an emotional toll for myself, but also my daughter.
Yeah.
And all kids, because they were just thrown in it as well. So yeah, it's been good, but there are days, we all have those days. My daughter told me, she's like, I feel like the walls are closing in.
Yeah.
The kids just want to go outside, and we've been outside. We go to the park, let her ride her bike. within reason and distance and all that. But still, a kid just want to ride their bike and
Freedom.
be free.
Yeah.
So having to explain what's happening with number one, coronavirus. And then we got thrust into a whole life-changing event with the death of George Floyd, which we all saw, which
That's
my daughter saw.
Mm-hmm.
So that took us on a whole other emotional journey. Mm-hmm. And now explaining to the best of your ability to your child what is happening. Who don't understand why the unrest, why is this happening? So it has definitely been a roller coaster. It's definitely been a roller coaster of emotions for all of us.
Same. Yeah, I think it was the month of May when I saw the footage of Ahmaud Arbery, and we're not new to this. We know that this has been happening for many, many years, but there was something about that murder that took the air out of me for a good minute, and then had the back-to-back toppled with just merciless killing. So yeah, it was definitely an emotional ebb and flow, but we continue to persevere as we do, and hope for justice and stuff. And so then so I was talking to somebody the other day, and his wife and his little son came in the room as he was on the recording, and I know her, so she came to say hello, and he's like, "Oh, babe, we're recording." She's like, "Oh, okay." And then his son just stood there, and I was like, "This is what it is, man. We're not trying to create no perfect anything. This is just a casual conversation, and people are coming in and out." But I had asked him this, and I'll ask you the same thing. What it's like balancing family, because it's you and your husband and your daughter, and then work, and then pandemic and quarantine.
Yes. Again, I'm still on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the good thing about the quarantine is, even though prior you think you spend all the time in the world with your child because you're here and y'all live together, you're spending more time, right? Because that you're making up for those hours that they're away from school. So you're learning so much more about them, right? More about their emotions and how they are affected by things.
Wow.
So it definitely was good for me, and still is good for me as a parent, because I'm able to see her change every day, because now we have the whole day, right? So I see her, how she would be in school, how she is in school, because she approaches her work when she's homeschooling the same exact way. And in terms of work, it's so funny. I just got an audition the other day, and it shoots in Canada. And my rep was like, "Hey, do you want to audition? If you book, you have to go to Canada next week, quarantine for 2 weeks, stay there another week and a half to shoot the first episode, then you can fly back." And I had to turn it down.
Yeah.
I said, I can't go out of the country right now in the middle of a pandemic, and my daughter starts school next week.
Right.
I mean, and that's just a sacrifice, right? So it's a lot of sacrificing when you are an artist or a director or whatever you do in the industry, and you have a family, especially during this time. If we weren't under these circumstances, then of course, things would have been no problem. But you have to consider now the safety, your health, your school, all of these things. So, and it was totally understood, but we are really sacrificing a lot as artists, and mothers and husbands right now, when it comes to this pandemic.
Yeah.
And it trickles over in all areas of your life, work included. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm thinking, as you're giving me that scenario, I don't think I would want to travel. As a matter of fact, my commercial agents they sent out a little spreadsheet asking us what are we open to, and traveling for me, I said no, I'm good. I can film in my house. I can go to someplace local, but I'm not really interested in getting on a plane. And then you got to quarantine and all the other stuff that just takes so much time. And then the stress, around it, because you don't know who's around you. And then, you read on Deadline, some productions shut down because one of the crew members, and it's like, I've been seeing that a lot often. So yeah, definitely want to stay safe from that, the possibility of something happening.
Yeah.
But that's a long time to
It's
get
so
away.
much, it's so, I mean, it was a long time. And, you know, I know that I'll have the next one. I'll get the next one.
Exactly. Yeah. You'll get
Mhm.
the one that fits perfectly for your schedule for the right time, and exactly with a great storyline.
Like, what about the one that shoots right around the corner at CBS Rapper? I can just walk around there, come back home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So has anything has anything been inspiring you during this time? Music?
Oh, yes. Music. I'm an incense burner, and I support a local Black woman who curates her own incense, and just have the meditation that it brings when I meditate, and just it's so relaxed. That inspires me to do more. So it relaxes me because obviously we're dealing with so much. I've been reading, and I've been catching up on shows. A show that I'm watching I May Destroy You, which is amazing. I finished Ozark. I was so inspired by that because, what you say?
I have to go back. I watched the first season. I watched the second season. Now I have to go finish the third season.
Oh, yes. I mean, it's a masterclass in acting. I'm just glued all the time. But yeah, I mean, other people's stories are inspiring. Aside from what I'm doing, hearing what other people are enduring and how they're persevering, the essential workers that are out here every day helping us, grocery store workers, people that work in the hospital, like those stories are inspiring to me because we're in a time right now where you don't get to hear so many stories that we're hearing now on how people are moving through this or coping with this. And it inspires me to know that we're all a part of one human race that go through the same thing. We're all dealing with this at the same time. So yeah, it gives me hope that hopefully we all can move beyond and forward in a positive light.
And what scent incense were you burning?
Ooh, today I was burning Summer Rain. However, I am going to burn Brianna because she curated incense for Breonna Taylor. And I just got my Oprah magazine with Brianna on the cover with my Brianna incense. So I will be holding space for her as I burn them.
And then before we go, because you touched on this briefly, but I didn't want to interrupt you because you were giving us some good information, that right before this happened, you were on a show working as a dialect coach. And so, because that's another, excuse me, another creative outlet that you do. And it's all part of this cosm of the actor, whether you're actually performing yourself, whether you're coaching actors, and now also dialect. And so how did that part come into your world?
That came in because I have an amazing friend who's a director who thought of me. She thought of me and she said, "Hey, I'm not saying nominate you. I thought of you for this job, and it's available if you want it. And they need a dialect coach. I told them how amazing you were, that you're acting coach, and you can, you're the best." And that started. I did a few episodes of Family Reunion on Netflix, and now I'm on another Netflix show by word of mouth from the same director. So it's important to cultivate those relationships. And
that's what I was trying to get to. Yes.
Relationships that were cultivated.
Right.
Really. I mean, I didn't know that my name was being spoken so highly of. For work outside of acting. And it's great because they all know I'm an actor as well. So it helps me as an actor. I'm helping actors, but it helps me because I'm working on multi-camera shows, right? I'm learning the world of that. So it's just been amazing. It's been great.
And I'm so glad that I brought this up because we had a divine moment slip up of saying nominated. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how could I forget to talk about your Emmy nomination? Yes. So thank you. Thank you, Providence. So let's talk about that, because as we're talking about cultivating relationships, that Emmy nomination came from a relationship that somebody remembered you from.
Yeah, for sure. My good friend, Will Catlett, he called me up. This was maybe 5 years ago. Yeah. He called me and said, hey, Crystal, my friend is doing an independent project. He needs someone to play his sister. I thought of you. I'm directing. I said, okay, where you need me to be? I didn't ask who was a part of it, what the friend name was. I just said, what time you need me to be there? And they sent me all the information, read the script, I showed up, and the rest is history. And the creator is James Bland, who created Giants, which is amazing. And it all came because Will Catlett called me up, another fellow artist friend who knew my work. I was like, I know exactly who I need to call.
Mm-hmm. And that's a testament of both of you, because he knew that you could do the job for something that he's directing, but you said yes with no questions asked, based on his own merit and who he is as an artist.
Yes. Which, again, had no idea what the project was, what it was going to turn out to be. Yeah. I mean, right now we're at 13 Emmy nominations over 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So had no idea that Issa Rae is on her platform, like nothing. Yeah. And you don't go to work thinking, oh, I'm doing this so I can get this recognition. Right. You know, you're just showing up, having fun, doing the work. Mm-hmm. So yes, the Daytime Emmy nomination was the highlight of my career thus far. I remember I found out the day before I went to Africa. So it was like a full circle moment for me. And yeah, it was great. It was just awesome. The ride was amazing.
And so as we're coming to a close, because it's August, so you have something that you can pitch with us that's coming up soon.
Yes, I actually have 2 things. So on October 4th, on Showtime, The Good Lord Bird by Bloomhouse Television will be airing at 9 p.m. with Ethan Hawke and Joshua, who is an amazing actor. Ethan Hawke executive produced it. It's based off of a book, The Good Lord Bird by James McBride. And it is the story of John Brown, the abolitionist who fought to end slavery in the 1860s in the deep south of Virginia. And this role has been the highlight of my career thus far. Yeah. It transcended so many things for me as an artist, and allowed me to really, how can I put this? It allowed me to be free. It allowed me to really step into a space that is what we all want as artists, right? The storytelling, the freedom, the access, the openness, the truth. And it has forever changed me. This role has forever changed me. So I'm excited. October 4th on Showtime.
That's one. And then what's the other one?
That's one. Oh, and the other one, I got a chance to be a part of Macro's Judas and the Black Messiah, about the Fred Hampton story of Black Panthers. So I was able to work with Lakeith Stanfield and Little Rel, who's also in it. And just the story is so timely. And I feel like I'm a part of 2 timely stories. I mean,
first of all, I have to cut you off there, because something that I've said this to you before, but there's a pattern to your career, whether, I don't know that you're cultivating it, but it may be something that you've been holding in your spirit of what you wanted, but pretty much every major benchmark of your career has been a very prominent story of like somebody real.
Yes.
The first one being
Hidden Figures.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then I automatically jumped to Mindhunter.
My Hunter, yes. Oh wow.
Now the Good Lord Bird, and then now this project, and then maybe there's even Bessie.
And Bessie, yes.
Right.
All time period. I always say, I said, time periods are that's my lane. And I love it because half the things on TV is a time period piece. So I love those. And when I get those opportunities, it allows me to dig into my ancestry, dig into my elders, dig into, the people who came before me, and wanting to live in those times, not literally, but just to try it on, to see and to take on what they took on and what they persevered through. So when I get those, it's just like it's yummy. I love those.
And I think there's a nice correlation of, the moment you went to Africa. Was that your first time going?
That was my first time going.
That was that moment that you went. And where did you go?
Johannesburg, South Africa.
Oh, of all the places. So you went to Joburg, and then you get imbued with ancestry while you're there, and then you come back. And there's some time in between, and the Emmy nomination happened, and now, but the Good Lord Bird, based on the character it is, and without giving away details that mess with confidentiality, if you just want to talk about just that process of that audition, and because of the audition, the process of the audition, and what you allowed yourself to open up to be that character.
For sure. So the audition came probably about August, so a few months after I returned from Africa. And it was a self-tape, one scene, did the self-tape, turned it in, and I got pinned for it like 2 or 3 days later. And let me backtrack, because I told this story yesterday. When I got the audition notice, we Google everything, who's attached, who's producing it, all of that. The casting director had a note on the audition. This show is based off of a book. You should read it if you can, right? I encourage actors to read it. So the audition was due 2 days later. I couldn't Amazon Prime it. So I went on Audible, and I downloaded the book.
Yes.
And I listened to the book. And I didn't get through the whole thing, but I got to the part of where we were in this story that I was auditioning.
Right.
And so I was super clear on what was happening, who the characters were, who I was talking to, what I was up against. And I used something from the book in my audition, because I knew, this is what is happening. And if we're sticking to the story, right, just because it's not in my audition doesn't mean it's not going to happen. So I used that as my strong beginning, as you would, in my audition. And the crazy thing is, I had other actor friends who auditioned for this role. And when I was talking to them about it, they were like, well, how did you know all that? And how did you know it? And I said, well, I read the book. I read it. But because the note said, do it. And the thing is, a lot of actors don't take the time to look it up. And I'm not saying that's why I booked it, because I read the book, but I was already invested in the story. Right. So after like a week or so, and then I also auditioned to be the sister of my character that I was pinned for. And then I got pinned for the sister. So I couldn't be both. And I really wanted the original character that I auditioned for. I flew to Atlanta. I was in Atlanta visiting my parents, and my agent called me and said, okay, they want you to tape 3 additional scenes and have it by Monday, and to be on Skype, on Zoom with the casting director, a self-tape. And I was like, wait, what? Because that don't happen. Now we do, because we're in quarantine, but we don't audition with the casting director on the other end. Yeah. So I said, okay, send me the material. And it was like 13 pages. And I was like, oh, okay. Cancel plans for the weekend. Totally immersed myself in the material. My good friend Jada helped me worked it out with me, coached me through it. I got to give her kudos. And she self-taped me for the original scene.
Mm-hmm.
And we just worked it out. I mean, I had her on Skype the whole weekend. We were just working it out. And I was trying on things and trying on different armor. Like, because this role, I had to go so deep, and the armor had to be so, I had to protect myself and also protect the character. So I felt like I had to arm myself, like I was going to war, really, essentially. And got on Skype with the casting director, and I was already in a space, and we did it twice. And the amazing thing about this audition is I watch it all the time. Like, I probably watch it 3 or 4 times a week. Like, even today, like, I'll watch it at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm so like, wow, because I don't remember. You know, when you're in it, you don't know.
Right.
You just don't know. So watching it was just icing on the cake for me. So
it's like you see the transcendence in the audition, where you're not even there anymore because you're so steeped. You're just a character.
Yes, you're just a character. And I think I found out the next day that I booked it, and then a week or so, and then the work really starts, right? So then I had 2 weeks to really dive super deep into this role. And I remember getting there for a fitting, and it was hot, 120 degrees outside. And I go, and I went into the production trailer to charge my phone. And when I came out, I'm walking down the steps, and Ethan Hawke is walking towards, like, we're walking down the steps at the same time. He's coming out the trailer, and he was in full costume, about to go shoot a scene. And I was like, oh, that's Ethan Hawke. Let me say hello, right? He's the executive producer of the show. He's also in the show. So I said, hi, he's like, and he literally stopped me in my track. He was like, no, I know who you are. And we had a conversation that I think I cried halfway through the conversation, because he poured so much into me in that moment of, I mean, people were waiting on him, and we just sat down in 110-degree weather and talked about the work and about the story. And he confirmed so many things for me as an artist. You know, we all are on this journey. We may doubt ourselves. We get into different emotional spaces where we feel like we can't push through. So and he didn't have to do that. That doesn't always happen. Yeah. So I'm forever grateful for him for taking the time, for one, acknowledging me and my work, and for just pouring into me so immensely that I like I'm getting teary-eyed now just thinking about the conversation, because it was very endearing.
I love that. And so, you know, the coach is the coach, and does the coach get coaching?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, because listen, I'm an actor too. Right. I'm going to miss something.
That's right.
Yeah. You know, I'm not going to see. I see everything in everyone else's.
Right.
You know, audition, but when it's yours, you always need that. You always need. People are always shocked, like, you do. I'm like, the best of the best get coached.
That's right. That's why I asked that question for anybody who's watching and thinking that, no, you still may want to have somebody get some eyes on you just to fine-tune.
I have like a good 2-3 people, professional coaches that I call, depending on what it is that I call, to work on it with me, because, and it's so helpful.
It is.
It's so helpful. Mm-hmm. You need that.
No, man, I'm excited. I can't wait to see it. And so that you said is October 4th?
October 4th for the Good Lord Bird. And Judas and the Black Messiah is coming to theaters, but they just dropped the trailer. The trailer looks amazing.
Okay.
But we don't know when the movies are going to open back up. So.
Well, in the meantime, we'll look forward to October 4th, because we know we have a date for that, and that's going to be on television.
Yes, it is.
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't share this, because we moved to LA at the same time. We were in New York doing that little play, and then coming here and working through all of the valleys and high moments. And so to be able to witness somebody go through the journey, and like you said, the journey is not always beautiful, but we trudge on. So, but to see somebody move through it with elegance, with grace, to stop and have a child, raise your child the way you're raising your child, because she's no slouch mother. She is completely immersed in her child's upbringing. It's just been a wonderful, inspired friendship to watch all of this. So I'm happy you came on here.
I'm happy too. Now somebody has to interview you. I can be that person if you need.
Okay.
You need a segment too.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
Thank you for watching Creatives in Quarantine. I hope you learned a lot about the acting process from Crystal. Be sure to watch The Good Lord Bird on Showtime. And if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, like. You really should share this one, seriously. See you next time. Bye.